Okay, we're recording. Hi, Georgie.
Oh yeah.
We just had a little hello and a briefing. It's lovely to have you on here after lots of chats on Messenger and things like that. It's been a long time coming. I know you've wanted to come to my networking sessions in Heathfield, and it wasn't the right time. And then obviously lockdown happened. So we've had lots of things against us, but never mind, here we are now, and it's lovely to do a one-to-one. And I will be sharing this with my coffee group and sharing this, far and wide really, on lots of platforms to promote the hospice, and I'm sure you will be as well. I will leave it down to you for a few minutes just to do a quick lowdown on what the hospice is. And to introduce yourself, and then I've got some questions for you, and then we're going to go back to some slides that you've got, which will be lovely, so people can see in front of them what it looks like. And yeah, we'll just roll. So fire away.
Great, lovely. So I'm Georgie Packer, and I'm a community fundraiser in East Sussex, covering the whole area at the moment. So I work for the Chestnut Children's Hospice, and the hospice itself is actually located in Arundel in West Sussex, but we have community care teams that cover the whole of East Sussex, West Sussex and South East Hampshire, which a lot of people don't tend to know. They think of the hospice as being located in West Sussex, but we've actually got a really big community care team over here in East Sussex too. So Chestnut Tree House cares for up to 300 children with life-shortening and limiting conditions. So we provide respite care that may come in the form of weekends away at the hospice for the family, day visits, and we also provide end-of-life care too. So our community team in East Sussex supports a lot of children in going out for the day, care in the home, and a bit of a break for parents as well.
Right.
So that's like a little bit of an opener on Chestnut Tree House, and I'll go through more as we go through our questions and slides as well.
Goodness, yeah. Well, I mean, I will touch again on what you've said, but that's a lot of children for a start, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's kind of not at one time, but across
No.
the time we've got that many children on the books. Yeah.
That's amazing, because generally with hospices, you can, for that sort of intensive 24/7 care, you can only often take so many people in. Yeah, that's very impressive. So I was going to ask you firstly, when was the hospice founded and who supports it?
So initially the hospice was founded as a group. They came together as a group in 1997, and it took a couple of years later in 2001 they started offering the community care services initially, before they had opened the building officially. And in 2003 it was actually opened on the site that we currently have down in Arundel. Chestnut Tree House Hospice officially opened. In 2010, we launched our oncology service, helping children with cancer and their families.
Right.
And in 2011, we launched the neonatal service to care for very young babies and their families. It's kind of continued to expand and be able to offer more and more services, which is fantastic.
Goodness. Well, I used to work at the NCYPE in Surrey, in Lingfield, and they had a fabulous sort of hospital on site, and that sort of facility is fabulous. When you don't have to transport young children elsewhere. Okay, so when did you start working there, and what was it that made you start?
So I started in January, so really not that long ago. So I think I was only in the role for a couple of months before the lockdown actually came.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so really quite a new thing. I've always worked with children, so I work supporting children with special educational needs, and a lot of fostered children as well for quite a few years. And I really wanted to work in charity. And when I saw a job available at Chestnut Tree House, it just felt like kind of a dream position to be able to take on, to
Yeah.
still know kind of contributing to supporting such an amazing organisation is a real privilege. And actually going to the hospice itself was just amazing when I went for an interview, because I was kind of apprehensive about how it might feel to go to a children's hospice. Would it feel like a sad place? How would I feel about that? But actually what I found so amazing is that they keep such a positive energy and atmosphere. And there's always this feeling of kind of life going on around you. You know, there's music, there's the hydrotherapy pool. It's just a really special place to be. They make it very positive.
Yeah, and it's like with any environment like that, and it does take special kinds of people. And I've been involved in environments both as a carer, as an entertainer, as a sister of a special needs lad, you know, so all those levels. And there is a huge amount of pain involved, but on the flip side, there is always so much happiness, and it's the best place to work as well, as you say. And that was one of my questions actually later, but yeah, I can imagine it's very special.
Yeah, very special. And the care team, the nurse team are amazing. You know, they're incredible people.
Yeah. I've just realised when I said NCYPE, most people won't know what that stands for or what it is, but it's epilepsy. That's the condition, right. Primarily, but there was lots of other conditions in that school, college, campus as well, but it's Centre for Epilepsy. So that's that. So you have touched on the fact that it's respite, end of life care, sort of holiday environment as well. It's very much a holiday camp with all the facilities that you've got, which is like a sort of a Centre Parks, isn't it? Almost. It's incredible. Yeah, did you want to just speak a little bit about facilities while we're on that?
Yeah, we're very lucky to have so many amazing facilities to offer. One of the things for me that I find really amazing, being a swimmer myself, they have a hydrotherapy pool. And for some of the children, it might even be the first opportunity they've ever had to go swimming in an environment that's appropriate for them. So often, like public pools, you've got a high risk of infection. It's very cold water. It's quite a challenge to navigate for some of our children and families. So the hydrotherapy pool that we have is heated to the right temperature, a lot warmer than your average pool. There's the ability to have a hoist to help with getting in and out of the water, and it's just perfect because it's just for one family at a time, so that level of infection risk is much lower, and the family can share that experience, the siblings, the parents, grandparents, even, which I think is such a valuable thing that we offer.
Yeah, that is really special. That's really, really special. Yes, because at a standard swimming baths, you know, you'd be really compromised, wouldn't you? With feeling very nervous about how vulnerable somebody is, both in communication purposes and physically, as you say, with temperature of the water. And so no, I fancy that. I really fancy trying it out. You hear so much about, I've got an old friend of mine who was in a terrible car accident and broken her limbs. She's going through hydrotherapy. You hear a lot about it these days, and also for animals. It's a wonderful thing to get the body moving again, isn't it, after
definitely
illness?
Yeah, and I think water is such a great healer anyway, but also for somebody that might be in a wheelchair, it's that feeling of being able to have that weightlessness as well in water, I think is a really amazing feeling. You know, it's very soothing, very calming.
I remember my brother and I, when he was very able, we used to Mum used to take us swimming. He was terribly scared of water, and there weren't those, he was never in an environment, He was at the NCYPE. He was there for a little while, but he didn't have epilepsy, so it was a short-lived experience for him there. But yeah, he would be too frightened because of everybody else sort of watching. So yeah, I can really visualize how powerful the one-to-one is. Yeah, I'll have to have a one-to-one down there. Okay, so I've obviously seen a lot of pictures online of the gorgeous grounds, the sensory areas. You're gonna show pictures of that later. I studied drama therapy for many years as part of my dissertation. So my drama degree ended up performing, sort of then got channeled into teaching and therapy. And so I'm so passionate about play and art therapy. And you've just already said about that being the focal point for the work going on there. How can people, I mean, you must have people come in also to entertain children and volunteer, not necessarily on the play side, but just come in and help. How can people get in touch with you about that, and how does that work as far as sort of employment or voluntary services?
So what would be great, at the end of the slides, I've got a little slide with all of my contact details. So if anybody was interested in finding out more about volunteering, fundraising, awareness, anything like that, it would be really, really great to hear from them. And I'm always happy to have a little chat on Zoom and one day face to face. But we're always looking for volunteers, especially in East Sussex. We put on a lot of kind of fundraising events. That might be kind of like a Beachy Head marathon, or it might be a little village fete, that kind of thing. So we're always looking for volunteers, and that's, you know, something we really value, people donating that time. It would be amazing to hear from anybody that would be interested in doing that as well. In terms of kind of how you can support the hospice generally, obviously our fundraising and things has been quite affected due to the pandemic, and a lot of the events we do had to be cancelled. So the mass participation kind of events had to be cancelled, so that obviously has a huge impact. So anybody that's looking to maybe hold a virtual fundraiser or something at work, something with their business or something with their family, just to get in touch with myself, and we can kind of talk through ideas, and I can give you any support you need as well. Always happy to be there throughout your fundraising.
So you also, I imagine you have specialist, you know, people that do the drama with the kids, do sort of specific, not just play, but you know, all types of things that are trained for that particular class, if you like, the sort of the more educational stuff that they're missing out on, and then people that come in and do games for birthdays or whatever it is. So there must be all types of things.
Yeah, we've been very lucky. A lot of people donate their time to come in, and we had somebody, like quite a few times we've had people bringing in animals for the children to meet and things like that, which you'll know kind of from your experience is a really amazing thing for the children to get to experience as well. And you can see some pictures on our website. I think I've got one in the slides as well of that kind of going ahead and happening. And the care staff are amazing at kind of facilitating a really creative environment as well. They have a lot of kind of art-based play, and they vary that through the seasons as well. So lots of different things and sensory experiences, both in the sensory room and kind of out of it as well, in our woodland walk, which is lovely. Being outside and kind of taking that in as well. So yeah, we have a lot of amazing facilities that are specifically adapted as well to make it possible for the children to get the most out of, and their siblings as well, which is something that I don't think can be overlooked, is kind of that need for connection and the sibling coming and taking part as well.
Yeah, I bet families come and they don't want to leave, do they?
Yeah,
when you mentioned the grandparents, everyone wants to move in. Yeah, two things on that. I did do pet therapy visits for a long time when I lived in London, actually. It wasn't, it's funny because I was talking to somebody yesterday about doing chickens, because that's a whole new thing now. And it would have to be the right chickens, because mine would go crazy. But I used to take in rabbits and dogs, and that was really special. Absolutely love that. And maybe that's something we can talk about. But on the subject of your grounds, I was going to say something else then. I don't know. We'll come back to that later. But it's actually quite shocking it's quite a sizable place. And if you've not heard about it, it's, you know, there's so much going on that people wouldn't realise. So it's a huge eye-opener. So we talked about how people can support. On the subject of families, and it must have been since March, it must have been so difficult when you were, because the children are so vulnerable, to not have families close to them, doing all of that social distancing. How did the centre cope? How did you cope with that? And what things were put in place? What
That's a really good question. That's a really good question, actually. During the actual pandemic itself, so when it was kind of at its height, we were really only open for end of life care, but we still were very much there for those, you know, families that were at that progressive point and needed that support. We had to postpone respite and daycare visits within the centre because of the risk to the children and to the families. But now they're slowly starting to come back, with day visits becoming a possibility. More community visits from our care staff are starting to be offered. And also we're starting to look at respite breaks again and being able to offer them, which is really valuable. During the pandemic, the care team was still available, and they offered kind of alternative ways of staying connected with the family. So things like telephone calls, Zoom calls, and sending out little care packages like craft packages to the children so they could still feel connected to the hospice. And obviously that's equally as important for the children as it is for their families, because as you say, it's a really long time to be self-isolating, as many people might have experienced themselves, but obviously the children we care for do tend to be incredibly high risk, so it's that need to shield for that time. So we've just been trying to stay in contact as much as we possibly can and kind of offer that support as and where possible with adaptions. Yeah,
two things, you know, that's when how lucky we are now with Zoom and FaceTime and all these things where kids can tap into their parents straight away, and often, unlike, you know, sort of standard practice where young children don't want their parents seeing what they're up to, in this kind of situation, it's a lovely thing, you know, when a child is confined to their bed and they get to see mum and dad from their home, you know, and they're still feeling that connection if they can't be there. How did it work with regards to masks? And that must still be going on. My brother's last home that he was in, that I'm still in touch with, seeing their social distancing, wheelchair activities, you know, when they're out in the grounds doing their wheelchair dancing or whatever, in masks, and life goes on, and they're all very, very compromised, very vulnerable, all in masks, but they're all still enjoying themselves. It must be a similar thing.
Yeah, so we've been, you know, obviously very lucky throughout the whole of the pandemic. Our care and nursing staff had adequate PPE and were very safe around the children that they were caring for. As I say, the majority of children were in their own homes throughout the pandemic and would have not been at the hospice. So we were only open there for end of life care. So it was limited anyway, the contacts. But we even had some people, and I can't think of their names now, but design specific kind of visors that might be more appealing to children, with like Minnie Mouse kind of designs up the top, and you know, things like that. So really thinking about how it would impact children. But of course, that's something that, you know, everybody's facing that's working with children at the moment, is that kind of change with having half of our face covered. It is different. It's a very different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting you go on to that, because my brother's condition, which was XP, which you see a little bit more nowadays, but when he was little, he was 35 when he died, and that was 10 years ago. When he was little, with his condition, he wore a factor 50 sunblock indoors, but he didn't really have to wear much on his face. He did wear a sort of a little cap, but generally he didn't go outside unless it was dark, you know, whereas kids now with the condition, various other conditions that are sun related, you do see these visors, and it can be very difficult for young children, you know, which is why, you know, I was getting a bit upset when people get cross about wearing a mask, you know, because it's not cool, and you think a lot of kids don't have the option, you know. But you're talking about turning it into something fun and wearing something silly. The thing with my brother and lots of children that I was working with, because I'd be going in to entertain, or, you know, the key thing there was to make things funny. And I think if anything that you can do where kids don't feel you know, that their image is compromised if they've hit that age, or you know, anything that you can do that is the ridiculous, or takes you out of the day-to-day. Oh, this is just a horrible, uncomfortable visor, let's turn it into something Disney, or, you know, I think that's a lovely thing to do. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that working. I think it's gorgeous. I wanted to quickly touch on one of my businesses, which is Arbonne, which we've spoken briefly about. I've been involved with Arbonne for 12 years. Come back to it very seriously in the last almost 5, but very active in the last 3, because it fits very much with all the community work that I'm doing, and the different sort of lifestyle I've got now, and the animal work as well. But I've always had that firm belief, because of the environments that my brother was in, Arbonne being health and wellness, very much about pure skin cream and nutrition and all these things. Arbonne was set up 40 years ago in Switzerland, and it's 40 years vegan. And because it's shipped direct from source and doesn't go into the shops, it relies heavily on word of mouth. And what it also means when it's not in the stores is that it's ultra pure. So for very vulnerable children, and I go back to, you know, my brother, who, you know, his skin used to shed in the sun, you know, it was a horrible thing to see. You know, pure products are so important now, and many people still don't know what is out there, and in environments such as the hospice, it's so important that vulnerable children are using really gentle things on their skin. And I just wanted to share really the Arbonne option, which families would do, which would order direct from me or from their own shop, and products are so pure that basically they were tested on burns victims all those years ago, which I think is a really amazing thing. So that you know, if you've got a child with you know, they've got eczema, or you know, all these things that are so uncomfortable, there are fabulous creams that that families can buy that make a massive difference and aren't toxic to their children's skin. So I just wanted to share that. So that's one of my great passions. So what I was going to do, when we go on, talk about other things and talk about donating and how people can do that, I was going to donate lots of samples and lots of some creams that I've got for going out in the sun, and for washing and things like that, so that that are pre-boxed and will come direct to you, so that you can experience those. That's my contribution anyway. So I've just mentioned about there's 250 products, by the way, that we do. So I'll give you a box of goodies. I'll send you a box of goodies. A lovely lady that comes to my networking sessions, who runs the Heathfield newspaper, online newspaper. I don't know if you've come across her, Anna White.
I don't think so.
No. I know I was going to set you up to meet her at one of my sessions, but I know that I was just thinking this morning about advertising, and she would be somebody who would be very excited to promote the hospice and the work. So I will be putting you in touch with her.
That sounds great.
She's got a lovely online community, and I'm sure that you know a lot of networking groups around Arundel and places where I'm not so familiar. You know, I know more of what's going on in Heathfield and Horham and Tunbridge Wells possibly, but not so much down that way. So we'll have to share. And on that, I was just going to say that we will sort of merge our communities and networks together, so that you know, we can sort of share. I can share how I can help, whether that's with products or things that my group can offer. I have you know, lovely people who make things, have their own home businesses, whether that's chocolate or cake, the most important things, crafts, all sorts, clothes, which will be, and myself and a friend have put on various charity events, mainly sort of ladies' nights, but there's no reason why we couldn't do charity play dates or dressing up days or charity runs or whatever it is. I do love all that.
Especially, that sounds like some amazing ideas. I love the dress day.
especially you know, the more wild the better. And I'm sure you do all this stuff already, but I know various sort of circus groups and crazy entertainments which would come in and do jolly things for the children. So I'm sure over time, when the sun comes back, we can do whether it's in masks or not, we'll create some fun things.
That sounds great.
Back on the subject of donating, I offered a little while ago, because of my vintage collection, I offered some vintage toys, and I totally appreciate the sanitizing of things. Everything has to be boxed carefully. People basically can get in touch with you direct, can't they, with their offerings, and say, would you like this? Is this appropriate?
Yeah, We also have, I'm trying to think, the nearest shops for you guys. We have a number of retail charity shops as well that we use,
Oh
but obviously
yes.
the money comes directly to support the hospice. So I know obviously I'm based in Eastbourne, so we've got one in Eastbourne. So that might be kind of the closest, but I'll double check that out in terms of what's closest to Heathfield. So that's always great. And things like when we do a lot of summer raffles and kind of fundraising stalls, it's always great to have things that we can raffle off, you know, and that makes a big income for the hospice, and everything really makes such a big difference, you know, even the smaller donations make such a big difference overall.
Yeah. And I guess we can just do little drop-offs, can't we, on passing, you know, not just because we want to come and have a nosy at the wonderful swimming pool and
So
join
normally
in.
we do actually have, normally most years we have open days, and we have a tour day every month, where
Do
people
you?
can book in with like, let me know if you wanted to come for a tour when we can again. Obviously that's limited at the moment, but when we can do that again, then I can actually show you round the hospice and you can come and see it, and you just book in with your fundraiser and they'll take you round to kind of have a look or visit one of the open days, which are delayed until next year at the moment due to
Yeah.
circumstances. But that's a really nice opportunity to actually see the hospice as well and kind of get a feel for it too. We have a lot of videos and pictures on our website too, but kind of actually coming face to face and seeing it is always amazing as well.
Yeah, I can totally imagine. Where am I at? Yes, I think I'm going to let you, yeah, I'm going to let you do your slides, and then
Cool.
that's going to spark off a few more little things to finish with. So
Lovely, that
yes,
sounds good.
yeah, I'll let you, you can send me off for a minute.
Lovely. So I thought I'll go through just a few of them as sorry, that's not quite
I'm
working.
going to just test us for time as well. I don't want you to get cut off. I can't actually see it.
So this slide, oh,
Yeah, I'm back.
there we go, there we go. Hopefully that's working now. Go on the slides. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Lovely, that's great. So a little bit about our woodland walk. I mentioned it earlier, but what's amazing is it's all boarded through the woodland walk, so it's suitable for wheelchairs as well. So things that you would take for granted generally, like being able to, you know, have a picnic in the woodland, it might not be accessible to some children and families. So that's something that they can do, and really a big part of what we like to offer, and for the children to experience is just the opportunity to be kids. You know, they spend
Yes.
so much of their time in and out of different treatments and things like that. So we really just want to be able to offer them the opportunity to just be kids and just enjoy and play.
Yeah,
So as I
lovely.
mentioned earlier, our hydrotherapy pool we've got here as well. So it's just over £40 to allow a child to have an hour in the pool, spending that time with their family. So that's obviously taken into account maintenance, staff, etc. So those kind of donations, you know, a £40 donation would make a huge difference. That's an hour of real and genuine enjoyment for a child. This was what I mentioned to you earlier, Lucy, as well, about some of the animals coming in to visit.
Oh,
So, lovely picture there.
oh,
Yeah, on the
look. And
left-hand side.
that's a hedgehog at the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah,
And is
hedgehog
he,
at the
what is
bottom.
he, is that a, that's not a gecko.
Chameleon.
Sorry?
Little chameleon on the left
Chameleon,
hand.
that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So really lovely there.
Oh, so it's like if you can't get to the zoo, then you bring the zoo to you, don't you?
Exactly. Exactly. So talking about the community support as well, I was lucky enough when I first started to shadow a day's care visit, and that was a really amazing experience just to see what the care team do for children they take out in the community, and it's also giving the parent that break as well. Some of our parents will be full-time carers,
Yeah.
and the kind of importance of taking the child out and giving them a chance to just have a break and relax for a bit as well.
Lovely.
As I mentioned previously as well, we've done a lot of adapting to the current situation. So this is a child with one of the care packs, the craft packs we sent out. So there was stuff in there for them to do and to kind of recreate a little bit of that experience they might have at a day visit at the hospice in their own home as well during the lockdown. So I think that's a lovely, really lovely picture.
Yeah, so sweet, isn't it?
It is. And so, you know, the tricky part is that when the time does come to say goodbye, because obviously it is end of life services, there's bereavement support and counselling that's offered for the whole family. So for parents, grandparents, siblings, that service is there to encompass everyone. And we have a chaplain who offers spiritual guidance for those of any religion, or indeed not a religion at all, just that kind of comforting presence and spiritual guidance. And we also have a really beautiful remembrance garden, which families can visit as and when they want to take that time out to remember and have that quiet space. And we also have events in the summer and at Christmas time in the garden as well for families.
Lovely.
So we have our Star Suite as well, which is a place that families can spend some special time with their loved ones and say goodbye in their own way. So it's time with them at the end of life and beyond that to kind of be able to say goodbye in the way that they feel they need to, that privacy, you know, to be able to be with them. It's really important and a valuable part of what we offer, I feel.
Yeah.
This is, oh, I'll start that again. This is our video as well, which kind of gives a bit of an overview of the hospice.
Lots of big smiles going on.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Beautiful place. Amazing. It's all about living in the moment, isn't it?
It is, and that's very much kind of what we're about actually, is that living for the now, and that's kind of why that's a big focus for us. And I think we all kind of need more of that in our lives anyway, that being in the moment. But of course, it's even more valuable to children and families, you know, that use our services.
Yeah. Well, we were always told when my brother was little that he wouldn't make it to a teenager, and then he did. And then, you know, I always lived in the moment because you never knew what was going to happen. And as hard and awful as that is, you just so treasure each day. That's what you're trying to achieve, aren't you? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the thing about Chestnut is it's the whole package as well, you know, that kind of support now, the respite support, the day support, the end of life support, but also post that as well, that counselling element and that bereavement support element, which I think is so, so important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love his t-shirt. I want it.
I know, it's lovely, isn't it? I love that as well.
Yeah.
So kind of as I mentioned earlier, really, any help you want or any fundraising idea you have that you'd like to talk through, any help setting up the Just Giving page, anything like that, I'm always available to help and just to kind of fire off ideas as well.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. But there's my contact details at the end as well. So for anyone that wants to talk about volunteering or fundraising or awareness or kind of any ways that, you know, you'd like to get involved, we can chat about that and see what we can work out.
No, that's lovely. Do the share screen again if you can. That's it. Cool. Yeah, a couple of things on what we were just saying then, the living in the now. How do you, as far as mental health, how do you, because obviously I imagine you're both the advertiser and you're very much heavily involved in the emotional aspect and the real nitty-gritty work of the hospice. How do you cope with, you know, a
So
child?
for me, predominantly my work's based over here, kind of in East Sussex, and looking more at sort of fundraising and awareness. So I'm less involved in the day-to-day running, but of course, all of our staff, you know, they're offered amazing support by the hospice itself. You know, we're offered the opportunity to talk for anything we need. We have incredible management. You know, and external to that, we're offered a lot of kind of telephone counselling and different support, everything we need. It's a very, very supportive organisation to work for. And I'd say equally, you know, our volunteers feel well supported as well in what they take on as well. So yeah, it's an amazing place to work. I feel very, very lucky to have it.
Yeah, and I think in that sort of, you know, all the staff that are doing that work, yeah, you're going to be a family. You know, you're going to get very, very close, aren't you? And also, when you touched on, you know, can be families of all different religions that are staying at the hospice, and that's really important, isn't it? To keep the real world, real life going on. And also, you know, as we found, as a family of somebody going through what they were, you're all going through it together, you get so close to the other families, you rely on them heavily because you understand each other. So you've got all that going on as well, and you must find that all the children get very close, you know, all the families get close, all the staff, you know, it's a very particularly special environment.
Definitely.
So yeah, so no, it's and as you say, you only started in January and you've done amazing.
Yeah.
And we must have been talking from pretty much from then.
February, yeah, I think so.
Where were you before this?
So for a while, I worked with children in a school for a long time. Predominantly, I kind of did work with children who were at risk of exclusion or had been excluded for different kind of mental health needs. So I did that for a long time, and then I trained teachers in working with children who'd experienced trauma. So yeah, always been with children, and now kind of, you know, the assisting to fundraise for the children. It's an amazing role to be in.
Well, yeah, it's lovely job that you've got. I totally relate to it. I find it very inspiring. I find it very exciting, very emotional, obviously. But I just say keep up the fantastic work, and I will support in any way I can.
Thank you.
And share our conversation today. I'm sure loads of people will be inspired. And yes, I hope it gets so much easier from this point. After
for all of us, I think.
Such a testing time. Keep wearing those silly masks. The
yeah,
Minnie Mouse.
Keep chin up. I think
keep your chin up. And I will visit before the year's out, I hope. And yeah, just thank you for your sharing today. And I look forward to talking more, doing more of these, and seeing you in person.
Definitely.
And on that subject, I would like to think that by Christmas we'll have a gathering, a sort of a celebration to be together again.
That sounds like a very good thing.
Let's aim for that. Let's aim for a Christmas party, hey?
Definitely. Sounds good. Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah, I will sign off. It's lovely to see you. And
you too. Thank
you for your time.
Cool. I'll speak soon.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Bye.